They put moms on a terror watch list for bathroom breaks. Detractor bathroom breaks. No, not a spy in Moscow, not a cartel boss in Miami, a Catholic school teacher from Texas. Welcome to America, where if you attended the wrong rally, questioned a mask mandate, or criticized the wrong politician, you might get a federal escort to Starbucks. Let's get into it. A Senate hearing just peeled back the curtain on something that sounds less like democracy and more like a rejected Black Mirror episode. Federal air marshals allegedly following American citizens to airports and to coffee shops, documenting how many times they use the restroom, all under a program called Quiet Skies. First of all, if you're going to surveil people, at least don't call it something that sounds like a Delta meditation playlist. Quiet Skies. Bro, that's not a security program. That's a United Airlines NAP category. According to testimony, individuals were flagged not for hijacking planes, but for things like attending the January 6th rally, not entering the Capitol, supporting anti-mask protests, or allegedly just triggering some mysterious criteria nobody can fully explain. And here's the wild part. One case involved the wife of a federal air marshal. Imagine that dinner conversation. Hey honey, how was work? Good. Followed a suspected extremist through Terminal C. Oh wow. Who? You. That's not a marriage. That's a Homeland Security rom-com. Now let's slow this down, because whenever we talk about surveillance in America, people immediately jump into teams. Red team, blue team, cable news, Avengers. But this isn't about jerseys. This is about power. The allegation is this. After January 6th and during COVID, the federal government expanded watch listing and surveillance tools in ways that blurred the line between legitimate security concerns and political suspicion. That line matters, because once you move from this person is planning violence to this person holds views I don't like, you're not fighting extremism anymore. You're managing dissent, and America was literally founded by dissenters. If 1776 happened today, the TSA would be like, "Sir, why are you carrying pamphlets critical of the crown? Step aside. Random secondary screening." Now, supporters of these programs would argue post 9/11 security laws give agencies broad authority. The Transportation Security Administration has sweeping discretion to assess risks. And in a world of lone actors in domestic threats, agencies often cast wide nets. That's the security side. The civil liberties side says, cool, but where are the guardrails? Because according to testimony, people were allegedly placed on an enhanced screening list, even when they never committed a crime. Some were followed repeatedly on flags. Some say they were labeled based on attendance at rallies or online associations. And here's where it gets spicy. One senator pointed out that Americans intuitively believe they have a right to travel. Courts have recognized aspects of that right, but not necessarily a right to your preferred mode of transportation. Meaning you can travel, but if the government says you can't fly, take a bus. Courts have sometimes upheld that. So now we are in this weird constitutional gray zone. You're not arrested, you're not charged, you're just inconvenient. And that's what makes this debate so important. Because modern government power isn't always dramatic. It's not jackboots kicking down doors. It's friction. It's inconvenience. It's your name quietly ending up in a database that makes every airport visit feel like a middle school detention line. And here's another twist from the hearing. Questions were raised about whether outside research institutions contributed information that agencies later relied on. Translation: academia and Homeland Security might have been pen pals. Now again, research partnerships between universities and government agencies are new. They happen in cybersecurity, counterterrorism studies, public health. That's not automatically nefarious, but the concern raised was about transparency and verification. If someone's name ends up flagged, what's the process? Who checks it? Is there due process? Can you appeal? Or is it just vibes on a spreadsheet? Because if it's vibes on a spreadsheet, I promise you, someone's going to accidentally put the wrong John Smith on a list. And good luck explaining that at gate 42. The other headline from this hearing, Democrats reportedly didn't attend. Now, before we turn that into a Marvel villain origin story, congressional boycotts happen for all kinds of political reasons: scheduling, protest, strategic messaging. Washington is basically high school with better suits, but optics matter. If one side is screaming abuse of power and the other side doesn't show up to argue the case, the narrative writes itself. And narratives are powerful. That's why we have to separate three things. 1. Were there legitimate security concerns after January 6th? Yes. Does the government have authority to monitor credible threats? Yes. Should that authority be clearly bounded, transparent, and subject to oversight? Also, yes. This is not a radical tape. This is civics. Because history has shown us something. Once emergency powers expand, they rarely shrink on their own. The Patriot Act expanded surveillance after 9/11. COVID expanded executive powers in public health. Every crisis stretches a rubber band of government authority. The real test of democracy isn't whether you expand power during crisis, it's whether you recalibrate after. And that's what this hearing was really about. Not bathroom tracking, not mask mandates, not rally attendance. It was about this fundamental question. Is dissent suspicious? Because if supporting a protest group can elevate scrutiny, if criticizing officials can increase surveillance, if attending a rally can trigger monitoring, then the chilling effect isn't hypothetical. It's behavioral. People self-censor. People disengage. People decide it's safer to scroll than speak. And that's how democracies get quiet, not through censorship alone, but through uncertainty. Now, to be fair, we don't have evidence that thousands of random Americans were secretly tamed for politics alone. Allegations were raised, cases were cited, but oversight investigations take time. Documents matter, context matters. That's why hearings exist. Because in a constitutional system, security agencies answer to civilian leadership. Civilian leadership answers to voters, and voters can evaluate when they don't know. So here's the bottom line. If these programs are properly targeted at real threats, show the evidence. If mistakes were made, admit them. If authorities are too broad, narrow them. That's on anti-government. That's pro-constitution. Because you can believe January 6th was dangerous and believe civil liberties matter. You can believe mask mandates or public health policy and believe watch lists shouldn't be political. You can support strong security and demand strong oversight. That's not hypocrisy. That's balance. The real danger isn't one administration or another. It's normalization. It's when we get so used to expanded surveillance that we stop asking questions. When enhanced screening becomes the new normal, when databases expand quietly, when no one remembers what the original emergency even was. So yeah, if the government is striking bathroom breaks for political lives, that's a problem. If it isn't, prove it transparently. Because democracy isn't just about elections, it's about limits. And the moment citizens feel like suspects for their opinions, whether they're red hats, blue hats, or no hats, trust erodes. And once trust erodes, everything else follows. So maybe the real question isn't who was on the list, it's who decides. And how do we make sure that power, whoever holds it, doesn't quietly turn quiet skies into silent freedoms? That's the story. Not left versus right, not Trump versus Biden, power versus limits, and that debate, that's worth showing up for.